She died 3 days ago. I stood at her funeral and watched them lower her coffin into the ground. I remember the sound of dirt hitting the woody slow down heavy at final. That was supposed to be the end. But it wasn't. That night, I went home and just sat there, alone in the dark. I didn't turn on any lights. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to feel anything at all. Then my phone vibrated. I picked it up without even looking at the screen. Her name was there, Emily. For a long moment, my whole body just froze. My mind scrambled, trying to find a logical explanation. It had to be a glitch. A delayed message. Anything but what it looked like. The message said, "Why didn't you answer?" Emily and I had been best friends for years. We talked every single day, often late into the night. So, when I didn't hear from her the night before the accident, I didn't think much of it. I figured she was busy or had fallen asleep early. It wasn't until the police called me the next morning that everything changed. They told me there. It'd been a crash on the highway. They said she died instantly. I remember just saying okay and hanging up the phone, almost like they had just told me the weather forecast. The shock was too much to process. Now, I was staring at this message on my phone. My fingers trembled as I typed back, "Emily, this isn't funny." The message immediately showed as. Read. My heart started to race, pounding against my ribs. A few seconds later, another message appeared. "I called you last night." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I opened my call history, 3 missed calls, all from her number. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. That was the exact time the police officer said she had died. I put the phone down on the table and slowly backed away from it, as if it was something dangerous. Then it vibrated again. I couldn't stop myself. I had to look. I was scared. The room suddenly felt colder, and the silence was deafening. My own breathing sounded loud in my ears. I picked up the phone again, my curiosity overriding my fear. "Where are you?" I typed, sending the message before I could second-guess myself. There was the long pause this time, long enough for a deep sense of regret to wash over me. Why did I ask that? What answer was I expecting? Then the reply came. I waited. Just as I read the words, the lights in my apartment flickered once, then went back to normal. A second later, my phone buzzed again. "Why didn't you come?" And then everything went black. Every single light in my apartment just went out, not slowly, not flickering, just off gone. The phone screen was the only light left in the suffocating darkness. I stood there frozen, just listening to my own breathing, trying to calm my pounding heart. I didn't reply. I couldn't. After what felt like an eternity, one final message appeared on the screen. "It's cold here." Then, nothing. The phone went silent. The screen went dark. The next morning, when I finally dared to check my phone, her number was gone. The entire message history, the missed calls, all of it had vanished. It was like it had never even existed. I tried to convince myself it was just grief, that my mind had finally cracked under the pressure. Later that day, I found myself back at the cemetery. I don't know why, I just needed to be there. I stood in front of her grave for a long, long time. And that's when I noticed something strange. The date on her tombstone. It said she died 1 day later than I was told. I found one of the cemetery workers and asked him about it. He checked his records, then looked back at me with a puzzled expression. "No, that's right," he said. "She passed away early this morning, around 3:17 a.m. That night, I left my phone face down on the table. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to know. But at exactly 3:17 a.m., it vibrated. One single vibration. I slowly turned it over, no name. Since then, I always keep my phone on silent at night. But sometimes, when the screen lights up in the middle of the dark, I still find myself holding my breath for just a second before looking. Just in case her name appears again, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.